Welcome back to another episode of Fully Stoked Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Stokes, and I'm here with a friend of mine, Tonya Joyner. Tonya and I have known each other for about a year and a half, something like that. Tonya is a good friend and a really pretty awesome human, honestly. So hang
thank
on
you. You too.
to your seat. She's going to tell you some cool things about publishing. Tonya is a publisher. And she has a really extensive history as an educator, both like in the K-12 arena, but also higher level education. So at college level education. And she was math teacher and now she's a publisher. So we've got some really cool things to talk about, sort of opposite ends of the spectrum. You'll be able to learn from her if you've ever been interested in publishing a book. So stay tuned. But first, let me tell you a little bit about Fully Stoked. If you've never watched Fully Stoked, we're a podcast where by day I am a senior mortgage loan advisor with Coast to Coast Mortgage. And what I really like to do, though, is I like to do these connection things. So I like to have women who have an expertise in an area that maybe you don't. So you can watch these episodes and you can learn something. Tonya, I know you do things like you will consult with people, maybe a discovery session or something like that. So you don't have to pay for the first time that you meet with her. But obviously, her job is to publish people's books and help people publish their books. So that's how she makes a living. Now we're going to learn about it. And then you can reach out to Tonya if you have more interest and questions in publishing. So stay tuned. This is going to be a good one today. So welcome, Tonya. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Tonya
Thanks
is
for having me.
yeah. Tanya's full of grace because, and this has happened a handful of times with other people, but we had some technical difficulties several times. So thank you for your grace. Such a great woman of grace. Actually, she's had grace in many situations
Thank
through the time that
you.
I've known her. Yeah, you're a pretty great human. So Tonya, tell us a little bit about your journey from a math professor to a publisher. Like I said, totally opposite ends of the spectrum. Math is over here, and then publishing books. So how does that work? Tell me kind of where it all started and your history a little bit so people will know a little bit more about you.
Okay. So yeah, graduated from quite a while ago. We won't talk about
I know, right? Me too.
but I graduated with a bachelor's and a master's in math. And I remember like going to class pretty much every and seeing this huge and it had like all of the things that you can do with your math degree. And so I'm looking at, aviation, and you can be an attorney, and you can be, an accountant, or you can be, actuary, you could be all these different things. Honey, that was not book publishing on that list. I can guarantee you that. It was nowhere, none of that. None of that was there. They didn't even really have a lot of entrepreneur opportunities that they listed on there. So, you're just thinking you're just going to work for these people and do the things. And a lot of my colleagues ended up working for like NASA. Of course, I was jealous. I was like, no, I want to go work for NASA, not knowing half of what NASA does,
Yeah.
but and still don't because they stay doing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
But a lot of them, I did go into like working for the government. I worked for the Census Bureau for a while, since 2000, worked in administration there and was responsible for like payroll and all these other things. And so that was, I didn't know, like, when you're older, you look back on your life and you see where the building blocks were. You
Right.
see where the stepping stones were. But like as you're going along, it's just like, what am I?
Yes.
Okay, well, I know I need food to live and food costs money. So we're going to start with money and get a job. And so, I kept getting all these different positions and things, but eventually ended up being a math professor. And it was something I said I never wanted to. So, right before I went and started working for the Census Bureau, I was in grad school and was getting my master's in math. And one of the requirements was that you taught for a semester. And I was dreading it. Like as soon as I found out that was one of the requirements, I didn't even want to get a master's anymore. I was like, no, I don't want to be a. Incidentally, there's nothing but teachers and preachers in my family.
Oh, wow.
Or you're a musician, but usually you're a teacher that teaches music. Everybody teaches music or,
Yeah.
whatever, something like that.
Wait, hold on. So you've got in your family, you've got a mathematician yourself, teachers, preachers, and musicians. That's pretty cool, though. Those are all
Yeah,
like
because
they're all like related, but also like really cool. Like I don't know that many
yeah,
preachers. I don't know that many teachers. I don't know that many musicians. I don't know any mathematicians except for you, I think. So that's pretty cool. You're unique. Your whole family is unique.
Yeah, mathematicians are unicorns. We are unicorns. It's not that many of us. I want to say my graduating class that year was of
Oh,
us,
you're kidding me.
including me. Yeah, it was
Wow.
like eight of us, including me. And so we were a very tight knit group and we knew each other very so yeah, so I ended up teaching us some and had full responsibilities. Like, no, you're coming to class, you're teaching the class, you're creating your curriculum, like you have to go by the university standards. But at that, it wasn't a boilerplate like curriculum like they get now. Like now they're just like, here's what you're going to teach, here's what it's going to do, and here's how fast you're going to go, and da 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 da. Mm-mm. You had to figure all that stuff out. You had to grade everything. You had to create your assignments. So you're doing the planning, the time management, the creating the actual tests, quizzes, and homework. You're doing the problems. You're figuring out the answers. There's nothing. You're starting from like ground zero. And oh, and don't forget, you're still taking classes. You're still taking your for
Oh, because you were teaching at the university level. Is that right?
yeah, yeah. And so you're taking like 600, 700 level classes, but you're teaching like 100s and well, they didn't make you teach 200. I only taught 100, like math 101, math 2. And so like algebra and trig. And
Oh, gosh.
so I'm sitting there like this is ridiculous. This is insanity. Why am I doing any of this? Now I get it at this age I get it. But you're just going through what you have to go through to get to what you want. And so at the end of the semester, I realized I loved it so much because I was able to do something that I didn't enough other people. I'm never going to say there was nobody doing this, but I didn't see enough people meeting folk where they were and then taking them to where they needed to be. Like just respect where the person is in the process and help them move forward at their own pace because you also have to respect their respect their pace. And so doing and then working all these other, jobs and all these ended up being um ended up leaving teaching as a professor and got hired at the school level, like the county school level, and was like, why am I here? Did
Mm,
not understand like what was the purpose of me being there. I was very upset because I wanted to stay at a college level. But,
hmm.
and so they were, because sometimes God will just shut off and you're like, no, and you're just like spinning in the hallway waiting for anything to come up. And so I just found myself having to go back and take the praxis. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, you're going to ask me questions teaching grade school level. I've been a math professor for like almost a decade. Like,
Oh, I didn't know
beneath me,
that.
the
Yeah.
pride like really ramped up because I didn't want to,
Yeah.
and, after hearing horror stories, I really didn't want and ended up like a sixth grade, fifth, sixth grade math teacher. And they threw in
Oh, wow.
because they thought I could do it. And I
Yeah.
was joke's on you. That is not what that paper said. It said a degree of math and they
Yeah, right.
so it did, but went through all the things and kept the same philosophy. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start where my baseline is and just move. Don't remember all these scientific terms. We're not blowing up things. We're not mixing chemicals. We're not doing any of that stuff. It's going to be, very structured and we're going to make it very straightforward for everyone. Because what I can't do is go back and pretend like I have a science degree. I'm not going to
Right.
do that. I'm not going to, and I
Yeah.
told the principal, because I had to replace another teacher. And he said, yeah, you're going to do math and science. And I said, I just want you to know that these kids will get a high level of education in mathematics. They will not be receiving a quality education in science
Yeah,
this
right.
year.
You
Just
were
want to
honest.
let you know wherever your expectations are, sir, bury them and set them on fire. But
I
we
bet you
actually
were
we did
good.
well. We
I was
did
going to
well.
say, I
We
bet you were
made
a
it.
really good science teacher anyway.
We had fun. There was a lot more than anything, and I was like, I really feel like you guys need to a lot because even the reading between that bridges the science and the math was huge back then.
That's-
And it's just here, more recent years that it's like we don't work on spelling, we don't do vocabulary,
Yeah, that's true.
and it was so crazy to see how. much like reading comprehension tanked. And I was like, no, not in this classroom. We got to do something about that. But later, ended up going back and teaching college level again, which was my love. But after a while, it was like, God was like, this has been great. Time to come out. And I'm like, and do good. And so I ended up starting a publishing. So now I teach and I meet people where they are and I take them to their goal. And that's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I earlier on that made no sense, like why am I here?
Right.
It all fell into place. All, time management, all of the helping people, all logic that came from the courses and all of the diligence and getting back up when you fall and all those things. It came from, those experiences. So now I use it every.
Yeah. I can imagine. So how did the TJS Publishing House start? Because you were, like you said, we worked for the government a little bit, and then you were a professor, and then a teacher, and then back to being a professor. So how did all that switch? I think you told me one time the story, but it was interesting because it was like math heavy. No matter what you've done, you've always done something math heavy, and coming from the teacher world myself. So I said, I don't know a lot of teachers. I do know a lot of teachers, but I'm unique because I'm a former teacher. But anyway, so, if you're ELA, if you're language arts reading, writing books and things like that, authors, usually you're over here and then math is over here. So how did you move from over here? How did that happen?
Uh, I was a part in a group in a women in Green, and in one of these events, I actually ended up crossing paths with this random lady. I'd heard like all these awesome things about her. She was the like manager a public speaking like it's motivational speaking group. She had her own company, and so she was always looking for speakers. And it just so happened when she and I crossed paths, we just did a basic introduction, and she's like, "Oh, I'd like to, learn more about you and know more about you." And I was like, "Okay." And because you're supposed to network at these things, I'm thinking it's just networking. And at
Mm-hmm.
that time, I had a jewelry business. I was running a jewelry business, and it was like very much custom jewelry, things that you would wear to a park, statement. I was like, well, she doesn't have anything to do with what I'm doing because she doesn't wear jewelry. She does not like. I'm looking at all the things she does, and she doesn't really have anything to do with those. But as we sat there and talked more, she was like, "Are you aware that you're a great public speaker?" I'm a teacher. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
have.
Right.
That was one of the reasons I didn't want to be a teacher because you have to get up and talk in front of people.
Yeah.
Same thing with preaching. You have to get up and talk in front of people. And I'm like, ew, that just
And
sounds disgusting.
same thing with musicians. Same thing with
Same
musicians.
thing
Your
with
whole
musicians.
family. Yep. Your whole family. There you go.
And it would, honey, all those things would just shiver my timbers because I had always taught to be administration support, never in the.
Mm,
And the problem with that is when it comes time for leadership, because all of us have ingrained in us some level of leadership. When it
yes.
comes time for you to be, you need to be able to lead in front of. And I'd had a couple little things like, when you're little, you sing in front of the church, like you have a little solo or something, you sing two good lines out of that hymn or whatever. But those were very few and far between. I just felt really unprepared. And I was like, what is this lady talking about? She wouldn't let it go. She would not let it go. She was like, nope, you're coming. You're going to work with my group. You're going to speak. You're going to make, how it is. They always throw in, you're going to make thousands of dollars per, session and da 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 da. You're going to travel the world. I'm like, okay, ma'am, I don't know how you feel like you're selling salt to a fish. Like man,
Yeah. Yeah.
so she did convince me eventually because she introduced me to some other people in the group and they were so nice. They were just
Yeah.
like so. And so she said, but one thing we talked about her whole plan for a little while. And she was like, well, you need to do one thing for credibility. And she's like, and that you have to publish. Ma'am, I don't know anything. I read books. I don't even know where books come from other than the library and the store. I don't know, like a bookstore. I don't know where books come
Yeah.
from. I don't know
Right.
how they come into being. I was taught that stuff. And so she's like, oh, don't worry about it. We have somebody here that can teach you how to self-publish because we don't have time to wait for you to go the traditional. Oh, great, because I didn't even know there was a traditional route and a self-publishing
Oh,
route. I
okay.
knew nothing. I was completely green. Long story short, the lady taught me how to publish. I self my first book, which was just like a bunch of anecdotes about motherhood and, how you miss your kids when they're away, even though you really just wanted to chuck them in the back of your parents' car, send them with gas and 19 sandwiches, and please don't bring them back anytime soon. Then you stand in their room and it's just like, oh, I miss these little,
Yeah.
and like right now, this kid would be running through with peanut butter on his face, making everything sticky. This one be, crying in the corner because the red cup is not the green cup. This one would be begging to go out and play basketball with his friends and do all the, and just, these.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
just found myself, just standing in the room in each one of their bedrooms looking at their things. And so I wrote about the silent part of motherhood, the slow part, and like the few times that you feel like you get it, but how important they are. And so that's what I wrote about. It did horribly, but it was a book. She just said she
Yeah.
needed me to publish.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, this poor little sad. But later on, I wrote a second book, and it actually was on parenting. And it was like a self-help book. It had like 100 tips. It's still out there. Y'all can go look at it.
What's the name of it?
It is called, lovingly, How Not to Kill Your Kids Before They Turn 8. And no, a switch does not fall out of the book when you, when you open the book. I've had folk ask me, like, oh, is there a belt in there? But as a teacher, I had gone and throughout my career, we taught kids all the and it's constantly in our conversation about this kid, that kid, and what happened with this kid, and why this kid turned out this way and this other one didn't,
Yeah.
and how they in the same household, and all the but one of the blessings that I was given was, and I didn't realize it at the time. Remember, I told you I started in college, taught high school, and then high school, middle school, and then one of the other things that we taught math camps. So at our
Yes.
church, there was a camp that, we taught all kinds of things. We taught computers and technology, all this. But and I was one year, and I think the director another year, and so I got to see these kids over and over for like 3 years. I want to say 3 years. Well, there was a set of twins that was in the camp. Two little precious little boys, Jacob and they were just the sweetest little boys. They were just boys, just run around, little tie, what did my mom used to say? Tie a knot in their leg to make a knee, little knobby knee, little boys. And so they were always active, always busy, and just sweet. And so they were in the camp for a couple of years. And then we didn't see them anymore because they aged out. Was my last semester at A&T as a professor, I taught those boys.
Mm.
And it was like the best
Yeah.
salute and thank you for your service that God could have given me because I was just like,
Yes.
I can't deal with this structure anymore. I know what type of teacher God made me to be. And I'm an interactive teacher, hands-on, and I again meet you where you are and take you where you
Mm-hmm.
but that's not what it was turning into. It was turning into this technology heavy
Right.
stand in the room and watch the kids take tests and everything on a computer. So it's
Right.
not even you don't even get to interact with the babies. You don't
Right.
even get to find out if anything's wrong or gauge their
Yeah.
mental state or anything like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, I hated it and it was disgusting. Just the way I
I know.
complained.
Yeah.
And so I was down to three classes, two of them like those computer lab classes, and only one that was face to face and interactive with the babies. I don't know why I call them babies. Those were a
Goodness.
whole
I
a
know,
whole
but I
adult.
know what you're saying. I mean, I sometimes I'll talk to Cody, talk to my husband about my former students, and when I taught the elementary school, they were babies, but then when I taught the high school, they were babies too.
Hmm.
They were all
Hmm.
babies. Yeah.
It's just our babies.
Yeah.
So when I saw them come in that classroom, I just had to do all I could not to. I observed, I knew them as middle schoolers, and now here they are as college students. And so I'm watching them like a hawk. Like I'm watching everybody, but I'm watching them like a hawk and I'm having conversations with them and I'm seeing where they are. Where have you matriculated from? What is, and we're still Facebook friends and I think I follow them on Insta too. We follow each other on Insta.
Oh, yeah.
It's like what is happening to the kids. And so I talk to psychiatrists, psychologists, people in the community, talk to, even police officers and things about kids and what they noticed and what was so that we would grow up and, they would grow up and have citizens and that we're growing good. And off of the advice and the things that they noticed, I wrote and included all of these tips and things, investigating behaviors and modifying behaviors, not just trying to, oh, this kid is easy, so that's the quote unquote good.
Mm-hmm.
But like, no, actually get to know this little person that you created who is happy and see, what's going on in there. Because
Mm-hmm.
at least from my vantage point, I can help you with happy because you're happy. Let me tell you what not to do, and let me tell you what you. It's just my.
That's right.
So that was the second, and I took that, and I promoted it a little bit. I didn't really do too much with the book, but someone nominated me for an award, and it was really weird because I still don't know who nominated me. I still have the paperwork for the award, but it required you to go to 2 sessions, and so I had to go up here to Charlotte, and I lived in
Yeah.
Greensboro,
Yeah.
and the events were
Mm-hmm.
in the pouring rain. Like I had to drive through the pouring rain in construction because Charlotte constantly has construction
Constantly. Yep.
downtown.
Mm.
Because of course, because where else would they send you?
Yeah, no.
Uh,
That's tricky with
so
all the one-way streets. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I get there, and in the midst of all of this, God had told me before I left the house to bring my book, and I was like, Lord, why am I bringing this book? I'm not what? It didn't make any sense. So I took the book, but I put it in the glove, and so I get to the event, and I'm parking, and hey, don't forget that book. Why am I bringing this book? Like this makes no sense. So I brought the book, and I was like. So I bring the book with me. I'm sitting down. And there's this lady. She's like got this crazy energy, like way too nervous. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
man, I can't sit. Let me stay away from her because her nervous plus my nervous is like infinite nervousness. So I go and sit in the back, in the very, very back, in the corner with my back towards the window. This is how much I'm trying to avoid this lady. And you never sit with your back. I'm on the second floor, but I never sit with my back to the window on.
Right.
And here she, and I'm like, no. She sits down beside me and she sees the book and she's like, oh, is someone sitting there? And I'm like, no, nobody's sitting there. You can sit there if you want. This is me in my mind or not.
Yeah.
So she sits down, she sees the book. She's like, oh, is this your book? And I was like, yeah, it's my not wanting to tell her I'm the author because I don't want to talk to this lady. She's freaking me out. I don't want to
Yeah.
talk to her. But
Yeah.
she picks up the book, and this is not my book. This is one of the books we just published. She turns it over. She sees my picture. She's like, this is you? And I said, yeah. She said, this is your book? And I said, yeah. She was like, oh my gosh, how did you get a book? Like, how did you get your book published? And I was like, I published it. And she was like, oh my gosh, can you publish? And I'm sitting here like, I don't know how to publish books. I don't know why my like was like no. My mind was so like I was in the nose like zone so much that it was like I didn't care. You could have asked me if I was
Yeah.
alive and I would have said no. I was like, I'm trying to get myself there.
Yeah.
We're at a professional event and I'm trying to get my nerves under control. And here she is asking me questions.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here like, Lord, I don't know how to publish books. He's like, you've already published two. Oh, yeah, that's right. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm having this anxiety thing is really just messing
Yeah.
with my mind. So I told her, I was like, yeah, I can help you. She was like, oh my gosh, okay. So we exchanged information. That woman became our first client. I want to say we published 3 books with her. She's published 3 books with, and she sent us a ton of referrals. And I mean, we could not be
Awesome.
in business where we are without that lady. And it was just so crazy. I sat there and the enemy's like, you can't do it. You can't do it. There's no way you can do this. And I'm like, you're right. I cannot do this. And God is like, you have already done. Have you lost your identity for a second? Did you forget
Whoa.
who you are? And
Yeah.
oh yeah, wait, I can do this.
Yeah.
I've helped other people. do things like, oh gosh, what is going on with me? Like we lose who we are. And now here we are. I just counted. If you don't count people who republished their book, like they want to change a cover or something like that, we have published 77 books. Like 77. By the end of this year, we'll be 80 plus books since 20, technically 20.
Wonderful.
That's how all this started. It did not start like, oh, I want to start a publishing company because I,
You were just helping somebody. You just had said yes to the
yeah.
Lord.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because if I would not have accepted, because I remember, I don't know, still don't know who nominated me for this award. I had to go up there twice. I had to go up there 2 different days. And if I would not have done what he told me to do, we would not be helping people publish their books now. We just,
Yeah. Obedience. I think that is so important,
mhm.
just being obedient. Who knows all the things that we've missed when we haven't been obedient. So it's a good story to hear when somebody is obedient. That is a big thing in my life that I am not wrestling with, but I constantly, always want to be obedient to the Lord because there are so many gifts out there. So many gifts that God is ready to give us. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
If we're just
like,
obedient.
but even if you kind of like flub it, I don't know who it was that said it, but they were like, the inspiring thing that I've heard was that when God chose me, he knew all of my
Yeah.
stupid mistakes that I was going to make. And that, yeah, that does give a lot of peace because I'm like, dude, I can.
And even when he knows that, he still chooses us.
Yeah, he still
So
chooses us.
that's so cool. If I ever write a book, I will call you. And I don't know that the Lord has called me to write a book, but maybe you just never know, right? And
You never know. You know.
yeah, like these podcasts, I don't think they're not because of my guests, but because I guess what I'm doing is I'm facilitating. It's what the Lord's called me to do, facilitating a platform for people to talk about their expertise, and that in turn facilitates other people to learn for free, essentially, about publishing or whatever the topic may be. And a lot of people probably have never thought they could publish a book, right? And now you're making it real and you're telling them you absolutely can. If I did it twice and now I can help other people do it, you absolutely
Mhm,
can publish
mhm.
a book. What? Maybe the Lord's talking to me right now.
Maybe because,
I,
yeah,
I
because
can.
I'm still publishing my own books. And
Uh,
yeah, I have one that's supposed to come out this year. That's supposed to come out this year, and I published about 3 or 4, no, 5 other
whoa.
ones since then. Yeah, some
Are your
um, just small journals and some to use partner like if you're in therapy or for your career and things like that, just to keep track of the awesome things that have happened in your life and to celebrate yourself. Yeah, there's that are just for that. And God was like,
That's
you're not
awesome.
taking time to really acknowledge the good things in your life. You are so busy checking boxes and moving forward
Mm,
and pushing forward. And he was like, but I've called you to rest. He was like, remember, you're supposed to labor to enter into God's rest. And if you're not
what?
resting,
You're supposed to labor to enter into God's rest?
mhm,
Really?
yep. Let
I'm
me
going to
see if I can look up scripture right quick because my computer
labor
is.
to enter
But yeah,
into.
labor to enter into his rest because some people think you work to die.
Yeah. And yeah, so my maybe this is what the book will be about when I write it, but this is my struggle. I work because I like it. And I mean, I work too many hours. My husband called me last night at 11 something and I was working and he heard me clicking on the computer and it's
Right.
almost an idol. It is almost an idol. You
Right.
see what
Yeah,
I'm
I
saying
get it.
though? So I need to balance that. So I don't work to die. I work like obsessively. So I need to figure that out. But once I figure it out, maybe I'll write a book on it. So
Yeah,
labor
because it is
to
a
enter
real
into
thing.
God's rest.
Yeah,
I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it. If you don't find that scripture, I'm gonna find it. So that is
I'm
like an
typing.
epiphany for me.
Yeah, because it just doesn't. And I love to work too. And like my husband, he's a, I call us workaholics in recovery
I love
because,
that. I love that.
yeah, because it's like, because as I've gotten older, I'm like, do I really want, like, I want the results, but sometimes I do way too much to get those results. And it's not, it's like you didn't have to, it's like somebody put in an order for one cake and you cooked 15.
Mm, yeah.
Why? And so I've had to start like dialing it back. I'll even tell my girlfriends now, I'm like, hey, no, you need to approach, well, I can't say exactly what I say, but you need to approach like as women, we do like 10 times much. No, come today with like that whole Jeff energy. Like the guy at work that really just doesn't do much, but somehow he still has a job. Like, come to
Yeah.
work, do more than, but
Yeah.
put the cape away. Put the cape away. The cape is not needed
Yeah.
because I found myself even like somebody would ask me for something and I'd be doing 175% and I turn it in and they'd be like, "Oh, well, this part is great. I turn in this much. Well, this is all."
Mm.
And I'm sitting up there like, "Well, why did I stay up till 11? Why did I just, all that time I could have used to take care of to, really do some serious self-care, to make
Yeah.
space, to add buffers to my day. Like this last year, God has been like, add buffers to your day."
And
And I'm
you've
like,
done that.
yeah,
I
I've
think you've
had to.
done that just from what I've seen. You've limited some of the things that you do, like our networking group that we met each
Yeah,
other in, and I'm
yeah.
proud of you for doing that. So I'm going to add some buffers to my life too.
Yeah, so he's like, even if it's 15 to 30 minutes around each activity, to just give yourself space and time to use the restroom, and I'm like, oh, I can use that time to change the laundry. He's like, no, that's not what that's for. I'm not telling you to rest for you to insert more. That's
Mm.
insert the rest. Go outside, sit down in a chair, and go outside, stand, and let the sunshine hit your face. And the sad thing is, to start doing it, I had to do like a minute. It was so, I was
Implement
disgusted. I was like, oh, I
timers.
can go out here.
You
Yeah, I
okay?
was like,
You need to write a book. You need to write a book on this. Implement timers. No, I'm serious.
I don't,
Think
it's
about
hard.
that. Just like your guide to reject workaholism and stay in the recovery state or
Get your
something
life
like
back.
that.
Like, get
Get
your
your life
life back. You
together.
think you're
Yeah.
living. Yeah. You think you're living. You're not. You're just doing stuff. Like, you can just keep doing stuff. Like, my husband says, baby, you just find stuff to do. I'm like, oh, well, actually, that was my mother's saying. She was like, she would see me doing something goofy. And she's like, little girl, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing. She's like, well, do you need me to find you something to do? No, ma'am. And so,
Yeah.
so- and find something to do because your mom can always find you something to do. It's always
Right.
cleaning something or
Uh-huh.
something, you know.
Moms.
But yeah,
Moms.
oh, and that scripture is Hebrews 4:11.
Let me write that.
Hebrews 4:11. And it's I'm looking at the King James version. It says, "Let us labor therefore to enter into that rest, lest any man fall after the same example of un." So I would highly suggest people like look at the full because even in our church we're like, hey, context,
That's right.
because just because you're in the room and you hear something does not mean that they were talking to you or a.
Hmm. I'm gonna go
So
ahead and read it when we get off of this call. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
gonna do
I gotta
that.
go back.
So this kind of I'm going to skip over some of the stuff because I can come back to it. But I think our conversation is moving over to identity. Maybe like for me, when we were just talking about work, maybe my identity is wrapped up in work, whether it's work with my children as the mom, whether it's work being known as the hardest worker or the one who publishes this or that or writes books or whatever. So
Yeah,
that identity is not what my identity is, right? So why do you think so many people struggle, including me, with
yeah.
identity?
Mm, well, one thing you struggle with your identity is as you come out into this world, you have an identity that's put.
Mm,
Your parents give you an identity, your teachers give you one, your family gives you one, your bosses give you one, and it just keeps piling up. This past year or two, like about 2 years, well, no, three, God has been working with me about my identity. And He's like, little simple questions like, why do you not? So, as I've been working with Him about my identity, I know when He asks me a question, just like Adam in the garden, Adam, God knows who you are. Are you aware of where you are? Like, and so when He asked me, it's like, why do you think that? I'm like, uh-oh, I'm thinking wrong. I already know I'm thinking wrong because He asked me something about it. And I'm like, hold up, let me check, all the thoughts. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking about myself and how are they either aligning or contrary to what he says about me? Like, what does he say? And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to do all these things. And he's like, why? And I'm like, because I'm the boss and I'm the owner and I have to make sure that all of these things are done. And he was like, is that the posture that you're supposed to take? Is that the perspective that you should have about these things? Or it is should it be from the perspective of everything that you need to do has already been finished? I am God. I rested on the seventh day because my work, you don't have things to do. You have things that I have already done that you have to encounter. That's a completely different perspective when you look at your life like, no, I got to go, I have to make this money. I have to go do this. I have to teach my kids. I have to. Mm,
It isn't that. I mean, for me, what you just said is incredible because that is rest for me, knowing like, okay, I'm giving an example. That's probably the easiest way to get my thought across to you. I don't know how I could be a writer because I have a hard time getting my thoughts across sometimes, but this is what I'm
that's
thinking.
why God made.
My That's right. That's right. That's got like I mean, okay. So like my daughter, I had talked to the HOA president, and we have like a community pool, and I said, her volleyball team is ending this weekend. Can we have a party? How do I do that? Who do I contact? And the coach has like 10 people coming, and I didn't know it. I thought there was two people coming outside of my family, and that you don't have to get permission for two people to come, but
Right.
for 10 people to come. So I just found out yesterday. So I had to go into the app and, do a request. And because it's kind of short notice, because we're on Thursday, I don't know if we're going to get it. Well, I woke up this morning stressed out about it. And then I said, you know what, Lord, you got this. You're God. I'm not. So I'm going to give it
Hmm.
to you. I'm asking, just take care of it, Lord. You work it out. I know you can work it out. I'm not going to stress out about it. But that is rest when I can walk away from it. And I haven't stressed out about it ever since I gave it to him. So that is rest, but I need to apply that same concept every day to everything that I do all the time. So there, I'm good at it sometimes, Tonya, but but the majority I need to continue to be obedient to the Lord and just give it to him. So
Yeah,
anyway,
it's practice. It's
yeah.
practice. Like, people that, do yoga, they're like, oh, this is our practice. We don't think about it like that as Christians, even though it is practice. Like, you
Yeah.
have to practice. Like, how do you get good at compassion? You practice. How do you
Uh,
get good at loving people? You practice it. How do you
mm,
get good at listening? You got to practice. Because, child,
yeah.
like, you have to practice. How
Yes.
did you learn how to walk? You practice.
Yeah.
But
So the
so yeah.
identity thing too, you got to continue to practice that. Knowing your identity is not in who the world tells you are, your work tells you
Uh-uh.
who you are, any of that. It's in who he tells you you are. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think and I was going to bring it now back to the publishing things. Like so many people want to write a book and they don't know that they can do it, right? They don't know because maybe they don't have the confidence. They don't believe, they don't have the rest to believe that they, were called to do that or that they have the ability to do that. But it is way more accessible than many, many people think. Can you tell us how
Oh,
the process works just a little bit, just a overview? I know you don't have time to tell us every single step because it can be long, but that's what you're for, is to help shorten it and to help people avoid the pitfalls and mistakes that they could make because you've made them, right?
yeah, I've made some and I have seen a ton. And actually that's a lot of my content of like, social media. I'm like, please don't do this because you're making a big mess. But it is very much more accessible than people think it is. Actually in the next few years, self-publishing is actually going to overtake traditional publishing. And a lot of people don't realize that, but it's because the traditional publishing industry has made it so like they give millions of rejections. Even just the top five, the big five, they give millions of rejections. And so where do those books go? They just don't exist, or you self-publish. But yeah, the overall process. Some people think, oh, I can't do it. Yeah, you can. You can write, or you can. So for some people, like I don't have time to write. Okay, it has to be recorded, dictate into an email and email it to yourself. There's lots of ways to, or you can have a little handheld recorder, or you can just record it into your phone and then drag it off of your phone and there's all types of different ways to do that. If you do have, like, say, a journal, Some people write, inspirational thoughts or just random thoughts, or they have a collection of quotes. Those can be compiled into a book. It doesn't have to be like we had one lady, she came to us with, I want to say it was 30 cent, and we were able to help her expand what she wanted to do. And her book was like 100 and some odd pages, and people love that book. I mean, they absolutely love that book. So, but there are fundamental things, of course, that you have to do for any book, and it's going to be, just for majority of books, you're going to have your editing done, proofreading, which is where somebody else goes back and reads over what the you'll need to have formatting, which is, for example, what can for example, like how your margins are, your page number, your headers, and things like that, your table of you also have to have your cover design done. And then where are you going to publish? So you have to determine like, am I going to publish on Amazon? Am I going to use Lulu, BookBaby? Am I going to use Inkwell? Who am I going to? But ultimately, you need to have a plan. Like, what is your plan or your goal or your purpose for this book? It's very simple to just be like,
Yeah,
money
right.
actually makes it much harder. Money makes it much harder, and there's a lot more involved in the process because you need to market, and you need to market really about a year in advance. So once you decide, I'm for sure going to write this book, I'm for sure going to use it to make money, then at that point, you need to start doing your research and investigating marketing. And for those who are interested in marketing their book, find a marketing specialist. Their specialty is, people don't
Okay.
think about that either. It's like, oh, well, I want to get something like a bike. I'm just gonna call a marketing. No, 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 no. With books, and it's not just the fact that they are specializing in books, but your genre of the book. So if it's romance, you want somebody who can market a romance book. You don't want to send your romance book to a marketing agency who their specialty is, what are we doing? So, you want to make sure that you're getting in front of your specific audience. And then also, if you're going to go to a professional, keep in mind that they're a professional. They're going to warn you about certain things. Listen to them. They're going to tell you to do certain things. Listen to them. They're going to give you deadlines and expectations. Listen to them, because we've had, scenarios where we've, oh no, my something is wrong. And it's like, oh, okay, who'd you tell? Then how's it gonna, there are basic fundamental things that we do as humans that are like, you have to keep that communication open with whoever you're working with. So whether you decide to get your own outside editor, I would suggest make sure whoever it is, that they have experience, that you've seen their body of work, that they've worked with actual published books, that you can see their body, that like you can see what they've done. They
Right.
have, like, they're in the acknowledgments of the book. I want to thank Bob Schmo for editing
Mm-hmm.
my book. Like, you need to really get granular when you look for people to work with. Like, when people come and need help with, working with you, you hope that these people have looked at your body of work, because
Right. Right.
otherwise they could just be anybody walking off the street and just be like, hey, I need to know about lashes. Your lashes look great. And you're like, but that's not what I,
What I do.
but no, your lashes look great every time I still know. So let's talk about what I do and see if you need my services. So you see what I'm saying? It's like,
Right.
you want people to actually investigate what you do to make sure that you actually can help them. So on that other
Mm-hmm.
side, investigate who you want, you want to work with, and make sure they can help you, because you.
Mm-hmm. So do you help them set up like the marketing and the editor if they don't have an editor? Do you help them with all of those pieces?
Yes, we have a la carte services. You don't have to come and need the whole package. Like, some people need the whole package. Other people just need bits and pieces of, the process. But then we don't do marketing in-house. We do not do that because we stick in publishing. We do have marketing specialists that we work with. So we have three companies right now that we work with that specialize in marketing books, and they work in specific genres. Some are more broad based, some are very, very narrow, but they all work with authors. And so that's our main, with working with them. But they do great work. And I'm like, I cannot imagine doing what they do plus what we do. Because what we do already,
Whoa,
yeah,
that's
yeah, it takes
crazy.
like a year. Yeah, so
Yeah.
the whole process. And if you're looking at, oh, well, I'm going to go with this company and they're offering a free ISBN, do not take it. Do not work with, no, don't.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. Like some tips, just general tips, like what you just said. What is an ISBN?
An ISBN, it is the, like when you scan a barcode for a book, it's the numbers at the top and at the bottom. You also find them on the copyright page, the ISBN 13, ISBN. Those two numbers are, they're like a social security number for your book. They tell like who's the author, what's the title of the book, what are the dimensions of this version of this book. And so for every book, you have to have a different ISBN because it's a different version. Like a paperback and a hardback would not have the same ISBN because they're not the same book. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, but other things to not do, we love English, but I would not go to an English teacher and say, hey, can you edit my book? If they
Really?
have experience in the publishing industry, then by all means. If they have degrees and a body of work in creative writing or publishing, by all means, because that's who you want. But just my neighbors is second grade English, it might not align. Now, if you're writing a children's book, heck yeah. But otherwise, you need
Yeah.
to make sure that what you're doing aligns with who you're working with. That's it's
So you're kind of like a coach though, right? Like you kind of coach the person through all these things. So you sort of hold their hand and guide them. Okay, that's good to know. That's a really
yeah.
good way to think of it. Okay. So tell us just, I know this is, I've kept you on here a long time, but just a little bit more because I have a couple more questions. So you've got speaking and community impact. So you've spoken at several organizations. Do you still actively speak? So if somebody wanted to have you come to their group and speak about publishing or whatever else, 'cause your husband is
Mhm.
a minister, is that right? So you and your husband are ministers as well. You do a lot of things in your life.
Yeah, we do.
So you've talked with the Union County Network of Women, Professional Women's Network of Greensboro, that you told us about how you met the lady there, Empowered Girls of North Carolina, and Score Charlotte. Tell us what Score Charlotte is.
Yes. Okay. Score is so awesome. That is actually, so I have a business mentor. Love him very much. Shout out. He is the business mentor I've ever had. And incidentally, he's in marketing. That's the crazy thing. I went to him about marketing, but he helps me with so many other things. Is free. You're paying with it. You're paying for it with your tax. And it is basically where retired professionals in their field, you can go and speak with them according to your schedule, according to your ability, whether you want to go face to face, or if you want to do phone, or if you want to do like video over Zoom or Google Meets or something. You meet with them at your leisure and they help you through your business. And you don't have to have just one. Like you can switch. Like if you need money help this day, you can go talk to this person. And or if you want to go and talk to somebody about accounting or just how to set up your company, you can do that and go talk to someone else. And it's just, I can't say enough about Score. I actually won award in Score. I thought it was so cool because I was like, what are
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
yeah, they like nominated me for like small business like in the spotlight. Yeah, they put me in the business owner spotlight, and I was just like, yeah, for all of Charlotte. And I didn't even know how to like. I didn't even know how big that was. Like we had just moved here, so what's that mean? Like I don't.
Yeah.
And then when people started explaining, do you know how big Charlotte is? I'm like, no, I don't. I just came from Greensboro, and they're like, baby, map. Oh, my sweet Lord Jesus. I had no idea this was such an honor. And so, but it's really cool. It's just to get integrated with different people who can help you on so many different levels. So,
Awesome.
and they have no reason to steer you wrong. They're just like, no, I just want your success. And having a business mentor was a game changer. Like, I can't even express. It's why I ended up at UC now. It's actually why I ended up at UC
Okay.
now. I know I was coming like with one of the other members and
Yeah.
everything for quite a while. Because she did encourage me to come, but at the same time, it was my mentor. He was like, "You absolutely have to go." He was like, "You have to go. I know you've been in your bubble. I know you've
Yeah.
been in your little happy place." He said, "But it has to change. You have to go make a footprint where you are."
Whoa.
And it just so
Gosh.
happened she came that week back to our house and was like, "So you're gonna go with me this Tuesday?" I was like, "Yep." And she was like, "What? I've been asking you for months." And I was like,
I'm
"Was the
glad you came.
I
I'm
know I'm
glad
so glad I came. I
we got
love
to meet. Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, I have one more question and then I want to do some rapid fire silly questions. But this one is your business is, and it sounds like your life, you've you have a mission, sort of underlying mission of helping people, right? So when somebody has a business like that and they're starting, maybe they're starting their business. So you're kind of like in a mentor position. I know you were just talking about having a mentor, but actually you're further along than many people. So what advice would you give to a person who's starting their business, especially around, it sort of centers around helping people? Is there anything you could think of that you might give advice on?
I'll just say this. This is something that comes to mind. Today, I would say, don't be afraid to be still, and don't be afraid
Oh, that's good.
to sit. Because we're like, I don't have enough. I don't have, and I don't know. And I don't, baby, don't be afraid to start where you are and go where you need to go. And then when it comes time to scale, don't be afraid to grow. Don't be afraid to ask for help and accept help. Don't be afraid to turn away crazy if they're actually crazy. But sometimes we need to investigate. Like I might think you this kind of crazy.
Yeah.
You're not crazy. You
Yes.
just have a lot, and we need to redirect that energy. That just
Right.
but then also be honest. If you have people around you who are not for you, they're actively tearing down. Why are you there? Why are you around them? Deny access. Deny that access. You have the power to do that. So set your boundaries, protect yourself from yourself, because those of us who love to, whether it is part of our identity or not, because some people in their identity, it's like, no, you work, baby. That's what you do. Other people are just so, um, and I'm a little jealous.
Yeah.
But there's a reason for that jealousy. But that's just accept where you are and just keep moving forward. It's okay.
Yeah. I do like that. Don't be afraid to be small and don't be afraid to grow. Just don't be afraid, right? That's
Yeah, don't
awesome.
be afraid. Just go.
All right. What was the first book that changed your life?
Oh, the places you'll go. I think it's yeah,
Awesome.
I love that book.
If someone listening wants to write a book, what's the biggest mistake to avoid?
Please do not, under any circumstances, upload your book to AI because you just gave it to the world. I would highly suggest that you research the problems with AI, and the use of it on and on the fact that you want to maintain ownership of your content. Because as soon as you give it to AI, it runs with it and it makes it available to everyone else. So it's one thing if you're doing it for like marketing and things like that, because that kind of content usually is like anybody can replicate this and it's no big deal. But if it's your own intellectual property, do not give.
I love it. I didn't know that, so that's good. I don't have a book, but should I ever have one, I will not upload it. Yes, I
Don't
will one
upload
day.
it. So that's all
Yes,
of them. So that's the AI, Chat GPT, Claude.
everything.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. If it says AI, don't put your stuff in.
Good thinking. Well, Tonya, thank you so much for joining us today. I love this conversation. I've learned so much and it's actually refreshing to me. It brought me some rest. So thank you for that. I'm going to take your advice and I'm going to work to enter into rest. And also, I really may be thinking about a book one day. My husband has written a book, so he needs to get in contact with you. All right. As always, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next time. We'll bring another woman just as wonderful as Tonya with excellent information. And you can reach her by looking at the summary. I'll have her email and her website, her socials. She's very active on TikTok, very good on Instagram. I love all of your stuff. I learn stuff all the time by watching it. Follow her on social media and reach out to her if you have any questions. She does have like a discovery call type thing, right? They can reach you
Mhm.
just by your website. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next time. Bye. Thank you, Tonya. All right. Take care, girl.